we are living under an oligarchy, like we're coming up to that. And the whole premises of it is that, these are the richest people in the world, but they cannot afford jokes at their expense. They're really sensitive and thin-skinned. They don't want to be made fun of, whether it's Trump or Elon Musk or Netanyahu. They cannot handle that at all, and that's what we can do, is ridicule them, because that's an intense power, and it is the power of the oppressed, is ridicule.
This is someone who may not need an introduction from me. Whether you're a Gen Xer, a millennial, a baby boomer, or a Gen Zer, chances are you've come across her work or her influence. This is Margaret Cho, and she's been making people laugh since the age of 14. Since then, she's toured all over the world doing stand-up, starred in sitcoms, racked up 5 Grammy and Emmy nominations, tackled the world of off-Broadway. I mean, she feels to me like someone who has just always been around. Or as her bio puts it, when hasn't Margaret and her voice been a part of our consciousness?
People didn't listen to me because I was this child. And I had to kind of communicate with adults who were mostly men and mostly white, who just didn't see me if I wasn't incredibly loud, incredibly forceful, and also really got to the point. And then it developed, it evolved into a kind of style of comedy.
Speaking of Margaret's voice, it isn't a quiet one, on stage anyway. Through her art, she stands right in the face of stereotypes that try to box Asian women in as being meek and quiet. To put it plainly, Margaret Cho ain't no wallflower, especially when it comes to the stuff that she believes in, like anti-racism and gay rights. And she's been lauded for doing this work in similar ways to the way she's been lauded for her other work, her comedy. She's been the recipient of the Victory Fund's Leadership Award, the first ever Best Comedy Performance Award at the Asian Excellence Awards, the First Amendment Award from the ACLU of Southern California, and the Intrepid Award from the National Organization for Women. PFLAG and LA Pride even gave Margaret a Lifetime Achievement Award for leaving a lasting imprint on the LGBT community. So, I think it's safe to say, if Margaret cares about it, you're going to hear about it. If she gets a whiff of systemic injustice, she's going to work to unearth that and bring it into the light by way of her work, which is why we're talking today. Because Margaret is not pleased with the way our country is being run. So she's doing what she does best and taking it to the stage on a nationwide stand-up tour called Choligarchy, a tour she describes as a comedic blueprint for fixing our country.
I will roast the powerful, comfort the menopausal, and explore what it means to be human in a world ruled by apps, men, and injections. Oh, yes.
I have the right to speak up. I have the right to fight what I believe is wrong. And I have a right to claim that identity. So the more that they sort of reject DEI and all that,
right,
it makes me really dig in to Americanness. And it's so blatantly racist and so sickeningly cruel that I think it's got to be an extinction burst. How is it possible that they think it's going to work now? I don't know. But yeah, it just makes me feel more American.
From Vermont Public, this is Homegoings, a show that invites you to eavesdrop on candid conversations with people who will challenge what you think you know. I'm Myra Flynn. Today, a conversation with the indomitable comedian Margaret Cho about using comedy as a megaphone for the voiceless, a spotlight on identity, and sometimes a weapon for change. This interview is happening at the start of her nationwide tour, Choligarchy, and today we're going to talk about all of it. This is Homegoings. We're a proud member of the NPR network. Welcome home. Margaret, it's so wild being here talking with you. I mean, it just feels like you've just always been a part of our constitution for comedy and for such a long time. And when I think about you, I think about this like really bold, sometimes crass, always hilarious comedian, you get right to the point, right? You're not going to sugarcoat it for folks. And I'm just wondering, is this who you really are? Is somebody that is that bold and brazen all the time?
No, no. Thank you. Thank you. But no, no, not at all. I really am not. That personality is something that I had to really develop. I'm actually really very much an introvert, and I really crave solitude and silence. I'm a really avid fan of quiet. And so it actually takes a lot out of me to bring out this energy that is what is my comedy. But I mean, it's something that I know that I had to do. I think I developed it when I was as I started comedy when I was like 14. So people didn't listen to me because I was this child. And I had to kind of communicate with adults who were mostly men and mostly white who just didn't see me if I wasn't incredibly loud, incredibly forceful, and also really got to the point.
Mm.
Like I had to people didn't have any patience to listen to a small child of color, basically, unless I had something really important to say. So that's why I think I was able to distill my messages into really almost like, it's racist, but fortune cookie style
Stop
uh
already.
burst.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people, especially white people, didn't accept it, and then it developed. It evolved into a kind of style of comedy. It evolved into a kind of persona, which does not take as much energy for me to, continue on now. But it's something that is an effort.
Yes. That's so interesting. Just like fun fact, what do you do for quiet time? Like, is there anything that you do that's like very much wrapped in solitude that you can share with us?
Yeah, I have a pretty strong meditation practice. I do about an hour a day of like just silence. And there's no chanting, there's no like special chair, there's no position. It's just like, just sit there. And it's like the best, and it's taken a while to kind of build up to it. I used to have I had like a little room that I would go into, and like I had a special little poof, and I would like sit on the ground and like put my butt there. Like it was very like, I'm gonna do it now, I'm gonna meditate now, and it's gonna look like the way that people do it. But now it could be any physical position, but it's really just quiet. And I think that especially now in this world that is so fast, and it really sapped our attention span too. It's really healing, because I'm also definitely addicted to social media, definitely addicted to all that kind of stuff. I know that has to change as well, because I know that the way that social media is changing with the algorithms and how it's all sort of being taken over. I really need to detach myself from that,
Mm.
which is going to be a challenge. So silence is going to be even more important.
Yeah, and more rare, it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you speak about these white men who wouldn't listen to you in this field you were in, right, that was predominantly white and male, you could have gotten more shy, right? You could have
Yep.
been silenced further, but instead you beat that back and you were like, no, I'm going to make you listen to me. I don't think that that's everybody's reaction. I'm curious, like, did you get punished for that along the way in one way or another? What was people's reaction to you when you decided to come out boldly?
Well, it was always pretty rewarding because, when you're a performer, you know when something's working.
Mm.
So as a stand-up comedian, I knew that it was working. Like I knew that I was working with audiences. I knew that I got laughs and that people laughed out of recognition or not recognition, out of the sheer amusement of, oh, here's this kid, this is cute. This is an interesting perspective that I think we didn't see before. And what I realized in comedy that is identity is currency. The more different you are, the more treasured you are, and that's really special.
Mm.
And so, in a way, it became, as opposed to being like, like kind of like different, I became exceptional. It was a very like it was always like anybody who's exceptional is different by the fact that they're exceptional. So that was like my identity more so than being just different.
Mhm.
So that I really flourished there because I love the persona of a child prodigy, and I still believe like that's what I am. Just
Okay.
like grown up.
But just a grown-up child prodigy.
Yes,
I
yes.
love that. Yeah, I guess like one thing I wanted to ask you about is identities. Like you stand at the intersection of multiple identities. You've not been shy in talking about being Asian American, and you've brought that to the stage and to your comedy and to your work, and pointing out societal tropes and being a woman and being queer and being an advocate for queer rights. And I think I just wonder, like right now in this time, while identity is so under fire, how is that both making you feel in your work, but also in your body while holding all of these identities?
Well, what I think that this current political time has made me realize is how American I really am. That's the one for sure thing that I know that I am too. It's the one thing that my parents always taught me because they had sacrificed so much to come here and to live here and to bring our lives here. And I know, like, I was born here, which is something that my parents always stressed was the most important thing, that I grew up here. And they, in my really, really, like, early childhood, they would really limit me speaking Korean
Hmm.
because they didn't want me to have an accent. They didn't want me to think in Korean because I was an American. And so all this does, it really just underlines the fact that I am an American first and foremost. So I have the right to speak up. I have the right to fight what I believe is wrong. And I have a right to claim that identity. So the more that they sort of reject DEI and all that,
Right.
it makes me really dig in to Americanness. And it's it's so blatantly racist and so sickeningly cruel that I think it's got to be an extinction burst. Like, it's got, like, how is it possible that they think it's going to work now?
Mm.
I don't know, but yeah, it just makes me feel more American.
I wanted to dig in a little bit more to the role of Asian Americans, because we are American, as you say, but also Asian Americans, and kind of how they've been represented or not represented in this broader fight. Because like there's a long history, for example, of solidarity between Asian Americans and Black Americans, right? It's been something that has happened, but sometimes gets left out of the conversation entirely. And when we had our pre-interview, you talked a little bit about that siloed space that Asian Americans can kind of be in, or that individualized space. And also not just in like the day-to-day, but in the current struggle and what is happening right now.
I think it's just really important to have solidarity with the Black people, with Latinos, with everybody who is othered in our society. And that's something that my parents thought was really important too. We always lived in Black neighborhoods. We always had businesses in gay neighborhoods. This was something that multiple branches of my extended family always did, because I think they had a very 1960s view of the civil rights movement, where Asian liberation was tied in very closely with Black liberation. What happened is the status quo realized that it was a disadvantage to them for us to unite. And so this narrative was brought forward about the model minority. If we can, like, pit these minorities against each other, we're still going to be able to hold on to white supremacy. And so it's that notion of there even being a model minority, that there is a way to be oppressed, that there is a way that's more palatable to white people, that we can be, like, oppressed. It's very detrimental, but it's also feeds into the culture of wanting to belong. There's an Asian, I think it's kind of a Confucian quality of desperately wanting to belong to society and wanting to do what the status quo requires, because it's almost like a familial truth. Confucianism is like, obey the laws, obey the family, obey your familial ties. And it's about obeying the structure of society in order to find harmony and peace. And that, mixed with the idea of a model minority, that's been very detrimental to our liberation.
Hmm. Yes, can you say more about that? Because by that math, I would think, wow, like all of us who are minorities, right, would adhere to this just for the sake of assimilation. But you say it's detrimental. How has that not served the Asian American community?
It's detrimental because it's sort of like silence is the answer through quiet acquiescence. We will gradually gain power, which is not true. It's just something that has never been true. This whole like Latinos for Trump movement is so painfully sad to me because it's very much like Asians for Trump. There's quite a lot of that. These people who believe that siding with the oppressor is going to lead to their freedom. And that is such a painful reminder of it. Maybe it's not Confucianism exactly, which informs the Latino community, but it's a similar impulse. Like, if we just follow the rules, they're only going to take the criminals. It's not the case. It's not the case. What happened is they criminalized all of us with our own permission. We permitted them to criminalize us in order to seek a better future. We actually like the ideas that prompted it are kind of noble because we just want things to be better. So we think if we just suffer for longer, it'll be okay if we just align ourselves with whiteness. But they'll never really allow us at the table. They'll never allow us to be with them. And, they're so betrayed. It's really sad.
Well, yeah, I think this makes me want to talk about Choligarchy for sure, because all of your bold work that I've seen over the years, from what I've seen of Choligarchy and just the trailer and what's to come of this upcoming tour of yours, it's some of your boldest work yet. So tell me about the name Choligarchy, please, and also what you're intending to do, because I could sit here and listen to you talk like this, like as a professor, just straight to me, forever and learn so much, I think. But there's something about comedy, right, that hits different with this kind of information. So yeah, I have so much to learn about why you chose comedy and what you're up to with this next tour as an activist and as a comedian.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, well, I think it's really important. Choligarchy is just, I love a pun. I'm so dumb. I really love, I like this
Cho
simple,
has so many, like the Cho must go on. Like there's so many.
so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy and so silly, and, for me, it's really satisfying. Like, I thought, "Oh, well, that's perfect," because we are living under an oligarchy, like, we're coming up to that, and the whole premise of it is that, these are the richest people in the world, but they cannot afford jokes at their expense. They're really sensitive and thin-skinned. They don't wanna be made fun of, whether it's Trump or Elon Musk or Netanyahu. They cannot handle that at all, and it's like these rich people, they can't afford that. So that's what we can do, is ridicule them, because that's an intense power. And it is the power of the oppressed, is ridicule. Like, they can make us do whatever they want because they have the financial means, but we can't. We can laugh at that. We can really make fun of them. And that's really fun. And it's really, I think, what the show is. And also, a lot of it is a rejection of the fact that so much of comedy was moving this administration along into power again. Whether that's the sort of bro manosphere of podcasting, all these guys who are my old friends, these people who I truly know, who I don't know why they've decided to do this, but it's a huge, sickening betrayal of what comedy is about. We're supposed to be about telling the truth and being there for the people. So it's a means to fight that. It's a means to get under that. Like, it's just so it's so bizarre. So yeah, it's like, I think when we can apply everything that we have to change and to really change this country to where we should be going, I think everybody has a job in this. Everybody has a voice, whether that's protesting, whether that's talking about it on social media, or whether that's doing comedy about it. So this is my effort.
This is your effort. Well, yeah, speaking of, you're coming to Burlington, Vermont. And Vermont is where this show is made. I think you're coming October 10th, which is really exciting, at the Flynn Theater. And Vermont's kind of known for monolithically being very blue, very, very liberal state. Do you switch up your show at all for a very red state or a very liberal state? Because I checked out your tour, you're going everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you switch up the messaging at all depending on where you're at?
No, because it's needed wherever I go,
Mm.
whether it's in a place like Vermont, which I love. I used to go and visit Howard Dean in his
Oh,
office.
that is
I
a
mean,
fun fact. Why?
which is so great. I mean, he was a fan and he was like just so warm and inviting and like I just think we would have been so much better off if we hadn't criticized him for yelling that one time.
I sure do remember that. Yes, yes.
And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
He just drank too much coffee and he got excited. Like, what did we think about politics that we were just so able to quash a very, very important political voice because he yelled too much. He
Right.
was excited. I mean, it's like he could I think that's really where we went wrong. I think that we could we could take it all back and go, I think that's where it happened, but no, there's so much more. But yeah, I think that it's really important to take your comedy everywhere. Like my last tour, they had issued a travel advisory warning for gay people, queer people to go to Florida. And because of that, I booked as many shows in Florida as I
Mm.
could because people in Florida need to hear what I have to say. We can't discount parts of the country because the image that we have of the people that live there is one that is somebody that may not agree. I don't think that's right. I think we have to take our messages everywhere because that's still America. We still need to voice our opinion. We still need to have dissent. We still need to have a way to agree. There are people out there that need to hear you and people that will welcome it. And I think also what it is about my shows is that even if you disagree, you have to laugh because it's just so stupid. It's just so dumb. Like, some of the things that I say are so dumb that
Mm.
you have to, like, cackle at the buffoonery. So, that's what I try at least to make it entertaining for everybody. Not that I would ever be a bipartisan entertainer in any way,
Right,
but
right.
there is a point of entry for people who may be more centrist or even people who may be right wing.
Yeah. Comedy is the vehicle, right? Sounds like for all of it. Are there any folks or any of your peers you feel are doing it right now that you're like really excited about?
Atsuko Okatsuka, I love her. She's my baby. She's like my child. Like, she's somebody that I have been watching for such a long time, and it's so exciting to see her just soar in her career. But, she just made a post a couple of days ago about the Riyadh Comedy Festival and how much they were paying people, but also well, she scratched that out, but I could see there was a lot of zeros and all of the things that they were demanding, all of the silence, like don't talk about this, don't talk about that, you can't talk about that, don't talk about that, like, and she just wasn't going to be bound by that. So I thought it was so cool of her to just kind of put that forward. I mean, I don't know. All things have a price, I guess. I have the luxury is I would never be asked to go to the Riyadh Comedy Festival. I would never be asked. I'm too gay. I'm too rude. I'm just too there's no way. There's just no way. So I can talk about it as much as I want and sort of like decry how I would never, but they would never ask me. So it doesn't really matter.
There you go. I think the next t-shirt, Margaret Cho, I'm too gay and I'm too rude.
I'm too gay, I'm too rude, I'm too crass, I'm just not what they want over there, and that is what it is, but yeah, it's very interesting.
All jokes aside, are you concerned about the state of our country?
Yes, I am very concerned. I have various escape plans. I think that probably the most logical one is to go to Korea, which I would definitely be like I mean, I'm like talk about like how they treated the Hyundai. They would send over a private plane for me and Bobby Lee to go over in such luxury. Like we would be so I mean, welcome back to the homeland. Like, it would just be really I think it would be incredible. We'd be royalty. But then also I think I would love Canada. I actually really love Canada. Part of my family is Canadian
Mm,
too, Canadian Korean, so that actually makes a lot of sense. I spent a lot of my childhood in Toronto, so there's a familiarity there, and of course, there's always wonderful United Kingdom. A lot of comedians are going to Ireland, so my good friend Rosie O'Donnell is there now, and a lot of comedians are going there. The citizenship is like I think fairly simple if you buy property, and now also I think if we really are not able to do what we wanna do, we'll be welcomed there. So, there's a lot of places that I've thought of, to go, and then there's also Mexico. I do love Mexico as well. Mexico City is one of my favorite places in the world. So,
great fashion
there
week.
I
Great
ha
fashion week.
oh, the best.
The best.
Everything the best.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I have the luxury to and the privilege to say, "Well, I could do that." Like, my greatest hardship is, like, how do I move all my cats? But
How
it's
many cats do
definitely
you have?
I have 3 cats, and they're the center of my life, and, they're really hard to move, but, that's the only thing, but, it's like, I have the luxury to do that, so many people don't.
Right.
And my concern is for them more than that, more than anything. My concern also is for trans people. Like, this is I mean, I don't think I've ever seen, certainly not our government, but like in any way that a government that is in the sort of like pro democracy world that has uh, just dehumanized a community more than the trans community. Like, it's so terrifying to me,
Mm.
and it's made me wanna reach out more and help the trans community as much as I can to try to find a solution, at least short term, to help them feel safer. That to me is terrifying. There's so many trans people in my universe. There's so many trans people who are just around me that I need to secure, that I need to and I wanna, like, feel like I can secure them from the inside, like, I want them to feel safe inside. There is so much terror that the government is causing by calling them terrorists, and that's really it's something I've never seen, and I don't know why it's not talked about more.
Mm. So I think when we spoke during our pre-interview, you talked a little bit about this pendulum swing and how like you might have a little bit of faith that things will kind of even back out as they should. Where are you standing in that faith today? Is that still something you're feeling hopeful about, that we might get on the other side of this better, stronger, faster, harder? I'm not sure. Or should we grab our cats and get on the helicopter with you?
I'm both. I'm both because I know for a fact that it's gotta swing back left. That's just logical, and if you look at our own, like, lived history, like, it's like the '80s and, the Reaganomics and the Reagan era and the AIDS crisis and how devastating that was and how we were able to survive it and come into power politically. Like, gay people coming into power politically after AIDS was just so what a tremendous triumph, that it happened, and we continue to be able to fight politically after we were decimated not just politically, but by a plague. So there is hope there. There is hope there. Even like after 9/11, you saw the incredible, disgusting Islamophobia and this idea of like homeland security and this rise of the sort of neoconservative white supremacy. You still felt it come back when we had Obama. So hope became the word of the day. Like 2008, everything shifted to that. So now, you just see the natural progression of that's the way the society works. And it has to swing back. It has to. The question is when?
Mm.
And can I wait that out? Will it be longer this time? Or will they change things so much that it's impossible to switch? It's impossible to swing back. Like, will it be gerrymandered to the place where we can't even vote anymore? Or this idea that after what happened at the beginning of September, Democrats, we were somehow vilified as the enemy, and they wanted to call civil war on us, and they wanted us all to be executed. That's like this thing, and they're still trying to criminalize this idea of being a Democrat. And it's I don't know, how are we going to turn that? I don't know, but it's got to happen. And
When you say what happened in September, you are talking about?
the death of Charlie Kirk.
Yes, yeah,
And the reaction
right.
on every side. And I think even speaking about it is such a dangerous thing because people want you to come out so strongly on any that my feeling is I don't I don't want to speak on it because I don't believe that I need to have space for him. I don't need to have a space in my existence for somebody who is that way. So I don't even I wanted to say I don't want to comment on it at all because to me it's just so outside of my realm of understanding why anybody would follow that or believe in that or want that. So for me, it's power to not speak of it and to not put energy into it. As it's instead to focus on how can we uplift our communities? How can we fight by rising? Because I just don't believe in anything he was about.
Right. I mean, I've heard, of course, as we all have, the pendulum swinging analogy over time in politics, and a lot of it, resolves to the pendulum has to swing in these ways so that the needle can move. And I guess one of the things that kind of obliterates the needle completely to me, right, is free speech. And I think about you as a comedian and how freely you are able to speak right now. And I also think about Jimmy Kimmel right now in this moment in time. And are you concerned about this at all? Because that would be a very big change for how you personally advocate for some of the people you're talking about.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. It's also tempting to want to test it. I want to test to see how far free speech can go. It is an experiment now. Okay, well, what can I say? What can I do? And how far will the government go to silence me? Because they were effectively able to silence Jimmy Kimmel, but only for about 6 days, which is great. And it's very satisfying.
Well, I think I just want to know what's your piece of advice for us? And by us, I also mean us, women of color. I also mean folks that maybe have more privilege and more power right now, folks that are willing to listen and maybe even be skeptics, folks that are really scared right now.
Well, I think that we don't have anything to lose. Except our democracy. We are already going to lose it without action. Dog wants to speak up too. Dog has a lot to say about it. She's more of a communist, actually. She's more of an, she's definitely more leftist than I am.
Okay.
Hey. Yeah. Yeah, come here, good girl.
Oh, it's a chihuahua. Yes. I love them. No. Oh, good.
Well, she's got very sensitive hearing, especially when it's about politics. She loves to talk about politics. Good girl. She's more about the worker.
I see.
But I think that we have to fight now. We don't have a choice. We have to use everything that we have to hold on to what we have and get a lot of what we have back, what we used to have back. It's our country. America is the dream of everyone, not just a white man who's mostly orange, who doesn't really know what he's doing. It is the dream of all of us, and it's only ours if we fight for it. And I think we've had it pretty easy. We've never been free of racism. We've never been free of sexism. We've never been free of homophobia. But for a time, we've done okay. We compared to other countries, compared to the rest of the world, we've kind of done okay. So we have to fight now with whatever we have, and that can take all sorts of forms, that can take all sorts of ways of activism, whatever you're able to do, but I think America's worth fighting for, so we have to fight, we have to fight.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you want to continue to be a part of the Homegoings family, stay in touch at homegoings.co and subscribe to the Homegoings podcast wherever you listen. Take good care.